carnivores. They kill.
Aggressive polar bears hauled out of a small town.
These bears, they've been reoffenders.
A retirement home is overrun by a flock of peafowl.
You only have one chance to catch an animal.
I don't want major flooding damage.
And a beaver's dam threatens the home of a Massachusetts resident. Animals are all around us, sometimes too close for comfort. Preserving the balance between man and wildlife are the animal extractors. At the southern tip of the Arctic tundra lies the isolated community of Churchill. Here, the town's 1,100 inhabitants are united by a common fear: attack from one of the world's most dangerous animals.
What makes Churchill unique, I guess, is around any corner you turn, you could run into the world's largest land carnivore.
A team of armed agents patrol the town. One of them, wildlife agent Sean Bobier, has dedicated his career to protecting the local residents.
There's a definite danger to the people in the community. There's been fatalities before as well as maulings. They're carnivores, they kill. We're dealing with wild animals, and they're always a threat.
Each fall, polar bears gather at the town's edge. Churchill lies right in the middle of their migratory path on the shore of the Hudson Bay. They wait for the bay to freeze over, then trek thousands of miles across the ice highway to the Arctic to access seals for food. By late fall, the waiting bears outnumber the local residents.
We have bears that come right into the community. You'll see them on the streets or on the perimeter of town, and that obviously poses a risk with human safety. We've had bear attacks in the past, and our job and our program is kind of designed to help protect the people from the bears.
These giant bears, weighing over 800 pounds, make formidable predators and are known to routinely prey on humans for food. Local resident David Daly recalls a narrow escape.
I have a dog sledding team, so I had the female Tiffany living outside the store here, and she's just screaming, and I go, lean down and I look to see if she's okay, and I'm bent down, and all I hear behind me is I went a polar bear, and I went, oh no. I have a policy. I know they say don't run, but my policy is to get somewhere else quick. So I ran around the doghouse, and I jumped up on the deck here, and I ran to the door, and I opened the door, and I closed it behind me, and the bear was right behind me. That was a pretty scary moment.
Sean responds to a call from local tour operator Mark Ingebrigtsen, who's just had a close encounter with a large adult polar bear.
While our tourists have been out on the tundra viewing polar bears, we've actually had a polar bear come visit us at our launch site. And what it's done is climbed onto the hood of our dump truck here, which hauls our garbage away, broken through the front end of it, and strewn some of the garbage out in order to get at it. So we want to take precautions at this point that we don't create any type of danger for the bear or for the people.
The aggressive polar bear is on the loose near the town. The agents are anxious about the safety of the residents. Polar bears have been known to attack and kill humans, and with their prodigious speed, can easily outrun them. The Bear Alert Patrol Team have laid out 9 baited traps around the town's perimeter. This morning, Sean Bobier is checking to see whether the traps have been sprung.
This is a culvert trap that we use for catching polar bears. We locate them around the perimeter of town, basically just to pick up bears before they make it to the community. The way the trap works is the bait's attached to the trigger, and when the bear pulls on the bait, the trigger pulls on this bar and releases the door.
At the town's garbage dump, Sean spots polar bear tracks in the snow. He knows an encounter with the polar bear could be fatal, so he approaches the building with caution.
They have tremendous power and strength. I've seen them tear open vans, go through walls of buildings. They are tremendously strong. They can pretty much get into whatever they want.
The bear is nowhere to be seen, so Sean leaves the site. But later that evening, he receives a call from a colleague. A large adult bear has sprung a trap on the other side of town. The cage and bear are loaded onto a truck and transported to a secure building on the edge of town.
Polar bear holding compound. Any bears we catch around the community, we put them in here in holding pens and hold them until we can safely relocate them back into the wild, away from the community.
People are strictly prohibited from entering the compound, so the bears won't become habituated or comfortable with their presence. This rare archive footage reveals the stark conditions that are intended to deter polar bears from re-entering areas inhabited by humans.
Any bear that we capture is given automatically 30 days in here. And after those 30 days, what we do is we take and relocate them by helicopter farther up the coastline of the Hudson Bay and farther north and release them at that time.
The bear caught today will spend a month in solitary confinement before agents can return it to the wild. It's fall in eastern Massachusetts and busy season for beaver control expert Mike Callahan. The beavers are causing flooding to homes in the neighborhood as they prepare their food stores and habitat for the coming winter months.
Today we're going to Carlisle, Massachusetts. A homeowner has experienced flooding of her basement because of a dam that the beavers built.
A family of beavers has moved into the homeowner's backyard. With their powerful front teeth, they chop down trees and create dams, massive log and mud structures that block streams and cause extensive flooding to the surrounding area. Their aim is to create a deep pond that forms a protective moat around their dome-shaped home. But while these beavers are busy constructing their home, they're creating havoc in a neighbor's backyard. Mike's job is to drain the flooded property without destroying the beaver's habitat.
It's really gratifying for me to be able to do this work because we're solving people's problems, but we're doing it in a way that is the most environmentally and humane way possible. And I find that very rewarding because everyone benefits.
Hi.
I'm Mike Callahan.
Homeowner Gabrielle Doctorman is anxious for a humane solution.
So let me show you the problem. There's always been water back here, but usually not this much.
The dam has caused the water level to rise by 4 feet. It's already covered Gabrielle's backyard and is now just 5 yards from her house.
This year, the water came up, flooded part of our basement, and really never went down. I don't want major flooding damage. I want to be able to resell my house someday.
If nothing is done to rectify the problem, the water will enter Gabrielle's house within the next 5 days. The backed up water is now so deep, the only way for Mike to inspect the dam is by kayak.
Unfortunately, we built houses and roads often near these low-lying areas, and so we often run into problems with human habitation being affected by it.
Wow, it is high up, isn't
They
it?
can be up to a quarter-mile long.
Just a few yards away from the dam, Mike shows Gabrielle where the beavers are living.
Yeah, it's a good-sized lodge. We built up this mound of mud and sticks and leaves, and they're living inside that.
Softwood trees, the beavers' primary building material, are also their staple diet.
And that's what all these sticks in the water here are. That's their food supply for the winter. So this is where they'll sleep during the day, and at night come out to cut down more trees for food and to inspect and fix the dam.
So they're in there right now?
Yep, yep.
Humane beaver control expert Mike Callahan is back at a home where a beaver's dam has flooded the backyard of a local resident. Mike and colleague Scott Bradley construct a 60-foot pipe that they'll insert through the middle of the dam to drain away the backed-up water that's approaching the house. Once in place, the pipe should give quick results.
Yeah, it's exciting. We're expecting to start seeing this pond level behind me start dropping and away from the homeowner's house.
The beavers use the deep pond to store food during the winter months. The agents have to place the pipe at the correct height to reduce the water level, but at the same time keep the pond deep enough for the beavers to still store their food. The sound of running water triggers a response in the beavers to repair any holes in the dam. Mike positions the inflow end of the pipe 50 feet away from the dam. It disguises the flow of running water, so the beavers can't detect where the leak is coming from.
They'll know that the water level's down, and they'll be checking their dam for leaks and putting mud and sticks on it, but it won't do any good because this pipe is sneaking the water.
The agents start creating a hole on the downstream side of the dam.
The next step is removing sticks, get a trench a little over a foot deep that's wide enough for our pipe to fit into. It's amazing how strong these beaver dams are. Without any tools, beavers just using their hands and their teeth, they weave these sticks together. All right, we're gonna start opening up the dam, letting some water through.
Mike and Scott struggle to keep their balance in the strong current as the river drains through the opening in the dam.
All right, you're good. We're good.
After we put the pipe through, we're going to secure it, and then I'm going to build the dam up around it. They'll come tonight, they're going to build around the pipe, and they're going to do the rest of the work for us.
The heavy metal cage at the end of the pipe is designed to prevent the beavers from blocking it when they start to patch up any holes left by the agents.
We're pretty much done. The pipe's at the right level. Tonight the beavers will come out. Any small leaks we didn't get, they'll detect and probably plug up tonight. I'm happy with it. It came out very good. Water's gushing out of it. And this pond should keep dropping over the next week or so.
And it looks pretty good. So it's a job well done.
Beavers will still have enough pond. The water will be away from the homeowner, and that's the goal.
With the water receding, Mike and Scott are pleased with their day's work. And as evening falls, they leave the finishing touches to the beavers.
I think they'll think it's shoddy workmanship, but I do my best. They'll come out, they'll repair it, they'll be critics, but that's what they do and they're better at it than me.
Tucson, Arizona.
Animal experts, this is Jeff.
Wildlife control agent Jeff Carver receives a call for help.
Yeah, we're on our way over there now. We're gonna be in a little rescue mode here.
Some raccoons are trapped in a dumpster outside a publishing company on the outskirts of Tucson.
We got a call from a garbage service where the trash man was emptying the dumpster. He heard noises, went to check it out, and he says there's raccoons inside a trash bin. The raccoons, they can give you a nasty bite. And now I'm gonna have 2 of them, at least, they said, in close proximity.
With 12 years' experience of handling wildlife, Jeff knows dealing with multiple raccoons is a tricky job.
Worst case scenario is I get bit. So we're gonna try to avoid that.
Jeff has clear instructions where to find the dumpster containing the animals.
3 raccoons. 3 young ones. They probably yearlings just out on their own. Once they get in here, there's no place for them to get a grip on to climb back out.
Raccoons are proficient climbers with specially adapted hand-like paws, but the steep sides of the empty dumpster are too high for these raccoons to escape. Jeff checks in with employee Gilbert Moreno.
I got 3 babies in there, and I don't see Mom anywhere. Have you been seeing them around?
Mama's not there?
No, Mom's not around, and there's 3 babies. And her mom realized she couldn't get them out of there, and she may have taken off. Mom gave up on them.
It appears that the 3 raccoons are orphaned. It's up to Jeff to rescue them.
Well, we're gonna pull these guys out of here. They can be very aggressive. Now, these guys are pretty young. Even though they're small and look cuddly, I'm not gonna catch them by hand. I'm gonna go ahead and use a catch pole on them.
Raccoons are armed with razor-sharp claws and 40 teeth.
Raccoons will deliver a very nasty bite. They're a wild animal. They're gonna fight if they feel cornered. Well, obviously, they're already feeling cornered. There we go.
A bite from one of the raccoons could infect Jeff with a deadly disease.
Raccoons nationwide are the highest carriers of rabies. They're probably healthy, but, you know, that's not something I want to take a chance with. I'm gonna try to get all 3 in there, just because with them being young like that, if I separate them, it's gonna add a lot of stress to them.
Although the raccoons put up a fight, Jeff manages to quickly snare and contain the first 2.
2 down, 1 to go. This looks like the runt of the litter here, too.
The 3rd raccoon is smaller than the others, but Jeff still keeps his distance.
There's an example of why I don't reach down and grab them with my hand. They'll sit and bite on the sleeve on the end of the pole here. There we go.
Jeff's next challenge is to find a surrogate mother for the abandoned raccoons.
I'm gonna make some phone calls and find out which rehabbers have accommodation for some young raccoons right now. We'll see who's got a vacancy at the end, so to speak.
A female bear and her 2 cubs have wandered close to town while searching for food. After a 30-day stay in a secure polar bear compound, conservation agents are preparing for their release. Researchers have marked the bears with a green dye, so from a distance, they can tell that the bears have been caught before.
So what's happened is we've immobilized the bears approximately 20 minutes ago, moved them out. We use Telazol, which is an immobilization drug. Basically, the way it works is the bear is awake, it knows what's going on, it's conscious, it just is unable to move its muscles.
The plan is to relocate the mother and her 2 cubs close to the shoreline, so they can continue their migration onto the ice floes away from the town. The quickest and safest way to transport them is by helicopter.
And they'll be relocated farther north up the Hudson Bay coastline, and then we'll release them back into the wild. Each bear that we handle is given a tattoo on the lip and ear tags. That way we know if we have repeat offenders or not.
For thousands of years, polar bears have trekked across this vast plateau towards the sea to hunt for seals. In air, as on land, the bears' thick white coats insulate them against the freezing temperatures.
989, this is TYU. I'm just headed to the fort now, gonna put down.
The bears have landed safely. Wildlife agent Sean Bobier supervises their return to the wild.
It's a good release site. I didn't see any other bears in the area, so they should be just fine here.
The mother and her young cubs are arranged in a circle.
Just pointing them towards their mother, so they all 3 can see each other, their family group. And when they wake up, as they come to, they'll know where each other are.
The agents retreat to safety before the immobilizer drug wears off. The bears are now 60 miles north of Churchill and far away from human habitation.
These bears, we brought them this far just because of they've been reoffenders. Hopefully that bringing them this distance will deter them from returning back.
Within 2 hours, the mother polar bear and her cubs will regain the use of their muscles and continue their trek into the wild. Wildlife control expert James Berkshire and his team of agents are preparing to deal with a flock of nuisance birds. A family of 6 peafowl, commonly known as peacocks, have taken up residence on the grounds of a retirement home in Daytona Beach. Assistant Manager Perry wants them removed.
People who come to visit, they see them, they think it's great, they bring their kids and stuff. But, you know, our main concern is the safety of our residents.
Peacock droppings are becoming a hazard for the elderly residents and may contain dangerous bacteria such as Salmonella and E. coli.
They leave feces on the ground or all over the facility, and that's an infection control problem for us.
What we'll do is we'll just get 3 people with the hand nets.
Agent Berkshire has a plan. He and his team hope to catch the 6 birds with a giant net.
Trying to get the net situated, what we're trying to do is when we push them, drive them this way. This being up against this pipe, it's not going to allow them to come out this way. And then the 3 other gentlemen are going to come up and just net them softly with the hand catch nets and put them into the carriers.
Peacock's feet contain sharp metatarsal spurs called thorns, which they use to kick potential predators. So the agents have come prepared with long catch poles and heavy-duty gloves.
Everybody's got the proper safety equipment on, make sure they wear that. So the main thing is just get the birds out safely, quickly. We can carry on our way.
The agents quietly steer the birds towards the giant net, hoping not to upset the elderly residents, some of whom have become fond of their feathered friends.
That's not what we wanted.
Peacocks can fly quickly, but only for a couple of 100 yards at one time. They soon settle on the other side of the yard. Agents Charlie Lazor and Steve Walker try a more hands-on approach.
You can grab them, grab them. Don't press them so much, Steve. Don't press.
I'm pressing them.
Nice catch.
Grab them.
The agents need to change their tactics.
Plan B now. It's gonna be real hard maybe to get them back over in this corner now after they've been spooked. Charlie, get down there by those people and try to walk them back towards us.
The giant net is abandoned. The agents spread out to surround the birds that are now alert and wary. But their perseverance pays off.
Steve, don't run them anymore. Right over there.
The plan is finally working. 4 chicks have been captured.
4 down, 2 to go.
But the 2 adult female peahens have flown to safety on the roof of the home.
New plan. Let's get this carrier back out in the middle.
James uses the chicks as bait. He hopes the hens' maternal instincts will lure them in towards their chicks and within reach of the agents.
We're gonna see if there's roof access, maybe get up there, flush them back down. Motherly instincts hopefully kick in. They wanna come down and make sure their babies are okay, which makes our job a little bit easier. Get them to settle down, get down here in round 3 and 4, I guess.
Charlie climbs on to the high roof to give them a nudge.
Go on, Mama. Go on, Mama.
Yeah.
Go on. Go on.
There you go. Wait.
With both birds back on the ground, the agents approach cautiously, armed with handheld nets.
No, slow down, Steve. They can't take flight right here. They gotta come out towards us. All right, I got the one on the left. All right.
It's a quick and safe capture.
They did great. Everybody knew what they were doing and everything was successful. We'll get these guys out of here and get them to a better home.
In Tucson, Arizona, wildlife control expert Jeff Carver has rescued 3 young raccoons from a trash dumpster on the edge of the city.
There we go.
The young orphaned cubs will need food and shelter during the winter months until they're old enough to be released into the wild.
The rehabilitators that we deal with in this area are very good. They try to have minimal contact with the animals. I mean, they want to care for them, and when they're babies, they have to nurture them in a certain way to learn how to behave like raccoons. We want to have it so that they can eventually be relocated back out into the wild, because they're cute and fuzzy, but they're not out to make pets out of them by any means.
Jeff has contacted Darlene Brostad, the owner of a local rehabilitation center.
Hello, Darlene. Hey. I'm good. How are you?
She has agreed to look after the 3 cubs until they're old enough to be released. Darlene has another family of raccoons in residence.
Here's the young'uns.
Including a mother raccoon that can act as a surrogate for the orphaned cubs.
It's actually got some that are this age, so we're going to try to integrate them into the other family.
Before the 2 sets of raccoons are introduced, Darlene will place the new cubs in a separate cage for a couple of days to help them calm down and acclimatize to the sounds and smells of their new environment.
Give them a quiet place to be, and then in a very short time, we'll open up the cage and they can just get with all the others.
Darlene is confident that the mother raccoon will accept and nurture the 3 cubs, as her previous fosters are doing well.
They're all captured just like these guys, all orphans. We've been able to integrate all of them slowly. We didn't ever have to hand feed any of them. The mom has been a good surrogate for them. And in the spring, when there's lots of prey out there and there's lots of water, then we will release them.
Jeff leaves, happy with his day's work, knowing the raccoons are now in safe hands. In Florida, there's no let-up from nuisance wildlife, even in the most peaceful of settings. In Greenwood Cemetery, Orlando, wildlife control experts Christian Agnew and Steve Demore respond to a call about some gravediggers that are causing havoc. Armadillos are digging large subterranean burrows on the cemetery grounds. Caretaker Don Price is anxious that visiting families will be distressed to see their loved one's resting place in ruins.
The grounds sustain most of the damage, and it's not good for the families to see.
These armadillo burrows can go back 20, 25 feet. An armadillo can dig at the rate of like 28 feet an hour. So imagine the damage this little guy can do right up close to a coffin.
With stocky legs and strong, sharp claws, the armadillo is a powerful and prolific digger. With its long, sticky tongue, it can eat up to 40,000 ants in one sitting. The soft earth of freshly filled graves provides the perfect hunting ground for insects, the armadillo's primary food source.
This graveyard kind of has its own ecosystem that all occurs within the parameters of this 120-acre fenced-in graveyard.
This is kind of their home, and as we keep building, there's less and less environment for these animals to live in. On one side, it's hard to get rid of them, but on the other half, we have to protect the families that are here.
Armadillos are successful breeders. The agents need to remove them quickly before the infestation gets worse.
Armadillos are primarily nocturnal. So that's the time that we'll be back out here with our nets, ready to chase down some armadillos.
Greenwood Cemetery, Orlando.
Let's do it.
Agents Christian Agnew and Steve Demore are on the hunt for a group of armadillos.
We want to catch the armadillos before they cause too much damage.
The armor-plated gravediggers have invaded the cemetery and are threatening to destroy the gravesites with relentless nocturnal digging.
Whoa, slow down. Their eyes don't really glow real good with a spotlight like a lot of animals do. So you just kind of look for their shells.
Did you see what I saw? Hit the nets.
Within minutes, Steve spots one.
Where's he at?
Hey, you ready, Steve? He's still free. Come on, buddy. Hey.
He thought he was gonna sneak
Good
out
job.
backwards.
There we go.
They've got it.
So this is our little grave robber. This is the 9-banded armadillo. Oh, wow. You have no idea the pressure it takes to hold that down there.
The armadillo's skin is made up of bone plates. The 9-banded species has so many that it's unable to roll into a ball to protect itself, a technique other armadillos rely on. Instead, its chosen method of defense is to jump.
I always make sure and hold my face back because I know from experience that a fella can end up with a bloody nose. He just wants to run. This guy is all muscle. As you can see here, these guys have some major, major claws. And those claws are designed for digging. They can dig roughly at a rate of about 28 feet an hour. This is a bulldozer.
You've got this cemetery here. As they burrow through and they tunnel all these openings, then it completely exposes that soil to collapse and things like headstones and caskets to sink and to drop and to go off kilter. So not a good thing you want to happen in the cemetery.
Let's get this little guy
Yeah,
in the
let's get
trap.
him in the cage. Just lead him right in.
I'm gonna try to. And what I'm gonna do though is see if it bounces.
Good job.
Perfect. See if we
Good
can
job.
get another one.
Let's do it.
Armadillos are non-native to the area,
Where there's one, there's more.
but steady breeding has led to a population explosion.
With these guys producing identical quadruplets every time that they do have babies, those numbers can stagger to amazing heights rather quickly. Slow, 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 slow.
An hour later, Steve spots a second one.
Hey, let's go. Watch it, Steve. You see him moving?
No, where is he?
Right there, right in front of me. 12 o'clock. Listen, he's gonna go this way. Spread out a little bit.
Steve quickly snares it.
Good catch. What you got in these areas, the leaves and the little berries and the seeds fall off of these plants, and as that starts to decompose, that's where these animals are gonna go to look for small bugs and worms and things that they're gonna wanna eat. All right, man, let's get him in the cage.
That
All
was
right,
great, Steve.
That's 2 in the cage, man.
That was great.
Good job.
To get to the perimeters of the cemetery, the agents abandoned their vehicle.
We're actually going to be going on foot now. We'll just walk up and down the wood lines, find areas with lots of leaves, and see if we can't find them while they're feeding.
Steve has caught one burrowing rapidly beneath a mesh fence.
Come here, dude. I can't hold much grip. I've been holding him here. Got an armadillo by the tail, and I'm starting to lose grip, man. Can you take over for me? Have you got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Although small, the armadillo is extremely strong.
I don't want to hurt him, though. Pick up this fence.
With squat, muscular legs designed for digging.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there we go. That was the ticket. Here you go. It's your armadillo.
Great example how fast they can burrow, man. He was just drilling right down into the ground there.
Tell you what, you're about worn
He'd have been
out.
gone in another 5 or 10 seconds.
3 armadillos in just a little bit under 2 hours. That's not bad for a night like this.
With the 3 armadillos safely contained, the cemetery caretaker, Sexton Don Price, comes to see them before they're relocated.
Well, we're happy that the armadillos are gone and they won't be creating any more damage to the grounds.
We're going to be taking these little guys here shortly down to another little private release site where they'll be released and they can run free. And it's going to feel good to let these guys go in a little bit.
It's been a good night's work for the agents, and they leave the cemetery to rest in peace.
Good timing, Great job, no injuries. That's what we want to see.
At a retirement home in Daytona Beach, wildlife control agents have successfully captured a flock of nuisance peacocks.
They did great.
It's now late evening, and agents James Berkshire and Charlie Lazore have traveled to the outskirts of the city to rehouse the birds.
Hey, Kristen, how you doing?
The owner of the rehabilitation center, Kristen Burford, is waiting up for them. She's taking the 6 birds in as permanent residents.
These are the first peacocks that we've taken in. It's going to be interesting. We were just lucky to have this habitat available. I had to move some animals around, but we're very lucky that they can stay in here for a little bit and get kind of used to the place.
Originally from Asia, peacocks are an exotic species, but have learned to survive in the wild in the United States. But luckily for these birds, they'll be well looked after.
Most likely, they're going to stay here their entire lives. We'd like to get them to the point where they'll eat out of our hands and we can put them with some of the petting zoo animals.
Better place for them than the courtyard of their retirement facility. They weren't ready to retire yet. All right, Kristen, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Agent James Berkshire is pleased to be able to keep the family of peacocks together.
Working close with organizations like the CARE Foundation, not only do we get the animals out, but we can also provide them a habitat to where they're going to benefit in the long run.
It's a satisfying end to a long day. Bee removal expert Willie Skleroff responds to a crisis call.
How long have they been there?
Months.
Months? Okay.
A hive of bees has infested a house. Homeowner Barbara Jimenez is anxious. The large hive is in a precarious position.
That's my kids' room.
Barbara's children have learned the hard way that bee stings are painful.
The kids have been stung. A couple of enterprising bees actually getting inside the house. That's how they got stung. I mean, it's just a big concern we have, so we're very glad everyone is here today and this is finally happening. It's one less problem to deal with.
Willie has called in infrared experts to assess the hive's size and how far it has encroached into the bedroom wall.
The infrared camera will give an image of the heat that's inside the walls because the bees give off a certain amount of temperature. And this way it'll show us that, ahead of time that we need to open up the ceiling or we don't have to open up the ceiling.
That's the spot right there, point of entry.
Yeah.
Okay. And so...
They're going to the right?
It looks like they're going to the right. I think that when we get upstairs into the bedroom, we should be able to pick up the hive and see where they're flying up in there.
Well, let's go up there and check it out inside.
It's a large hive, but its exact position is unclear from the outside.
Oh, I see a kind of a shadow there. Is that where
the infrared equipment detects heat given off by the bees?
77.4 there. We're at 78.8 there.
And that should be...
And here we're at 84.
Okay.
So we have, really confirmation that this is where the hive is.
Right.
So your hive is from this point here.
Right.
Over to about here.
That's good. I can get that from the outside.
Outside work to be done.
Outside work. Let's go. A bee suit? A little bit bigger hammer.
Yeah. It's good news. The hive is nearer the outside of the house. But the bad news is that Willie needs to demolish part of the wall to reach it.
Oh, they know something's happening. Look how excited.
If they do get aggressive, run. Go into a house. If they start coming after you, just run and go into a house. Don't jump in here. You don't want to jump in there because the bees will actually hover and wait for you.
If the bees are disturbed, they could swarm. When a bee stings, it dies and gives off an odor that incites the other bees to attack.
Knock, knock.
Even without an allergy, multiple bee stings can be fatal.
Anybody home?
Willie opens up the wall to expose a large established hive. He sprays the bees with insecticide to kill them.
What we did is just open it up to exterminate some of the bees that's in there. And we're gonna just let the bees die down just a little bit and then go in there and pull out the honeycomb, the brood, the dead bees, whatever that's up there. I would say there's probably between 20 and 40,000 bees in this hive. A queen bee lays up to 2,000 eggs a day. And so every 21 days, 2,000 new adult bees pop out. It depends on how much work they've done is how long they actually do live. Some live longer than others. So the hive would start growing and growing and then growing.
The dark color of the wax honeycomb tells Willie that the hive has been there for several months.
Whoa, look at this nice piece. Oh my gosh, look how much honey is here. Look at that.
Willie takes a bite, one of the perks of the job.
Mmm. Very good.
The comb is made up of hexagonal wax holes containing honey that sustains the bees.
This one's really neat because it has everything on it that the bees need. The honey is all in here. And if I break it open, you can see the honey. Down here is the brood where the queen had laid her eggs. And now they're growing in there, the babies. And this is a peanut. This cell here is a peanut. And that's where they had a new queen. And she emerged and came out and started another hive somewhere else.
There's a large hole in the outside wall, but homeowner Barbara Jimenez is relieved that her family is now safe from the threat of a painful sting.
We don't want them back. We'll do whatever it takes not to have them come back, at least here.
That should do it. Hopefully that will solve the problem. We have a whole bunch of foragers coming back, but they should be gone after 4 or 5 days. If you have any problems, just give me a call, but otherwise I think we're okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In Tucson, Arizona, wildlife control agent Mark Hammond responds to a crisis call from one of the city's schools. A wild animal has entered the grounds.
We think it might be a raccoon, which kind of concerns us a little bit. Simply because if it is a raccoon, they are one of the 4 animals found in the United States that do carry rabies. So that concerns us a little bit.
With children as young as 5 on the premises, Mark is worried that the raccoon could be carrying another lethal disease.
Raccoons carry a worm called raccoon roundworm. This worm is deadly to toddlers. And if they ingest this worm, it can cause everything from neurological problems all the way up to death.
The school children have been kept inside the building, out of harm's way.
Hi, how are you? Hi, Angelique, how are you?
The teaching staff has been keeping an eye on the animal. It's nocturnal and seems to be asleep.
Oh my God, he's snoozing.
Yeah, he wakes up and smiles at us. And
he does.
Stretches and sticks his tongue out.
And he's right out there in the sun?
Yeah.
One of the teachers noticed the raccoon up there. They came out and took a look at him to make sure he was still alive, and he was fine, so we called right away.
The safety of the children comes first.
What I'd like to do is just get up on the roof either way, and I'd like to come back on the roof or something like that, and then just see if I could get him on a snare pole, so.
Something's wrong. Mark is disturbed to see the raccoon in this urban area.
I just don't like this. In the last 20 years, I've never trapped or captured a raccoon in this area of town. So why is he here? If we catch this thing, I don't know if I really want to release him. As bad as it seems right now, I think I'd rather send him to the health department and have him tested for rabies. Even though, you know, he hasn't bitten anybody per se, you know, I just don't like the way this looks right now.
As Mark plans his approach, he knows timing will be critical.
I only have one shot at this. If I don't catch him, he could jump off the roof, or he could go up on the next level, or he could get on a tree and come down and we may never see him again, which may be good. Okay, at least we're getting him off the school grounds, but I'd like to catch him and maybe see if we can test him.
Mark has one shot at snaring this raccoon. It's perched on a thin ledge 15 feet above the ground. Any sudden movement may spook it and send it over the edge.
baby.
Easy. She's a female. Yeah, easy, sweetheart.
As Mark places it inside the cage, he gets to take a closer look.
She looks healthy right now. The only thing is, I still can't understand what she's doing there. That growling sound right there, it's a good sign that she does seem healthy. So.
With the raccoon captured, the school children and staff are free from the threat of a bite or infection, and Mark's fears about the raccoon's health are receding.
Now what do you do with her? What do you do with her?
You know, she's not showing any signs at all of rabies or distemper at all, so we'll probably wait till later on tonight and see if we can release her.
The staff is relieved to have the wild animal removed from the premises, and the school day can resume as normal. Outside the city limits, Mark has found a perfect patch of land to release the raccoon. It appears to be free from disease, but may be dehydrated.
I think this guy's pretty thirsty, so that's one of the reasons why we're releasing him by water here.
Okay, buddy, if you're thirsty, now's the time to get your water. There we go.
I could have sworn that thing was sick, and I thought we were going to have to take it in and probably have that tested for rabies. And that's the last thing I want to do, is have to kill an animal. But still, I have to put human safety and public safety first. So it makes me feel good that this turned out, that it was healthy and that we can release it. And hopefully in this area right here, it's going to be able to find a mate or other raccoons in the area here.
It's an ideal ending for Mark, and a second chance for the raccoon. Wildlife control agents battle to protect our homes and workplaces. Thanks to these animal extractors, we have a safer environment for both man and wildlife.